in a multipolar world, if the multipolar world does not have rules or guardrails, it's chaos, it's unpredictability, it's violence. And I think we are really at that point where we have to, and this was precisely the period before the First World War. There were no rules, there were no guardrails in the way that in the 20th century they were built up. So it allowed everyone to say, well, this is my territory. I intervene here because of on the basis of a pretext that is, of course, totally ludicrous. And I cast aside with the greatest of ease the international humanitarian law framework and the international human rights framework that was established. For us, the response has to be consistency in the approach. We have to take each and every life seriously. It's not a question of politics or ideology, it's a question of care, and it's a question of establishing the facts, which we're doing, by the way, now that we got the Council resolution in the context of what's happening in Eastern Congo. We have to apply the law, and we have to commit to the law, and we should not throw the institutions and the office holders that are meant to do this under the bus, because I see, unfortunately, a lot more of that than ever before. We have direct attacks against international institutions, against international criminal system, against office holders that we have not seen in the same way before, and we cannot afford this, because if these institutions that are meant to be the guardrails are weakened, everyone is going to be weakened. And that's really important, but it's also important, and that's what human rights does. It is not only about violations and the doom and the gloom. It is also what has transformed societies for the better, what has promoted equalities around the world, what has promoted the richness and the diversity that we so much enjoy in our world. And it has transformed societies even on the economic and social grounds, on the development front, that we cannot even imagine if we didn't have that. So we need to go back to these roots and to the basics of it and be conscious of that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for this statement. Now I will turn to the audience, and we have, as Munich Security Conference, we have every year a group of Munich young leaders, and they're privileged to ask the first question. We have Kasper Sitemba, who is the Technical Support Specialist for Peacebuilding, United Nations Resident Coordinator's Office, Kenya, who can tell from the ground how it is. And please ask your question.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My question goes to the two presidents, Excellency Mahama and Excellency Shekedi. And what we've listened today is that the global system, the international system is changing in contested ways. But at the end of the day, as a believer in multilateralism, there's consensus that there's need for strengthened multilateralism. So the question to you is, do you believe that regional organizations, as they are right now, whether it's EAC, SADC, or the African Union, have the credibility to help you or all of us address some of the challenges that we face? And are there complementarities with the UN, with the reformed UN system right now for that to be able to happen? Thank you.
I think that the United Nations should be strengthening its partnership with the regional economic communities. I was going to make a comment about peacekeeping and saying that it doesn't work in every circumstance. There are circumstances where the UN cannot restore peace because there's a violent situation taking place. I remember with ECOWAS, when we had the Liberian Civil War, it took ECOWAS to form the ECOWAS Monitoring Group, ECOMOG, to go in while fighting was taking place, secure the port area, inject ECOWAS forces in there, and protect civilians and push back the rebels and create a safe zone. It's very difficult to insert a UN force into a situation like that. And so I do think that partnerships with RECs are important, and we must bring those closer. But for instance, right now, 3 of our neighbors, the Sahelian countries, are breaking away to form their own alliance. And that is because of the Islamist jihadist insurgency that is taking place. We could do a multinational joint task force, but our economies require those resources for healthcare, for education, and to provide other social services for our people. And so unless we got resources from an organization like the UN or the AU, it makes it difficult for us as a regional organization to make any intervention. And so I think that there should be stronger partnerships going forward between the regional economic communities and the United Nations.
Thank you. You want to respond?
Oui. En fait, j'ai toujours pensé que pour un continent comme l'Afrique,
yes, I've always believed that for a continent like Africa, in order for such a continent or a country on that continent can integrate properly, for example, through a free trade zone, that almost all African countries now are part of such a free trade zone. In order to do that, first of all, it's important to work together with regional economic organizations, such as the West African Economic Organization. But of course, you're right, they have to be credible. And this credibility can only be achieved if we uphold the principle that such communities have imposed on themselves, actually. If in such a regional organization you say, for example, we stand in solidarity, we are united, we have to reduce trade barriers or tariffs, and if then within that community one member state is being attacked, then there is no response to that, and that's not acceptable. So the principles of solidarity and protection are not applied, and that's a problem if we end up with such a situation. And I believe that the credibility of regional economic organizations has a lot to do with upholding what they have imposed on themselves or what they have agreed to themselves. And I believe that is the true question. Multilateralism, yes, I do believe in that too, as you've asked the question. But today, there's a lot of hypocrisy associated with that. So we do have certain agreements that we made, but they only apply to some who feel that they are untouchable. And if these obligations affect others who have the same rights, then these obligations are no longer complied with. And that's what we need to talk about before we rebuild multilateralism.
Hypocrisy or setting of double standards, and Munich Security Conference, we just issued a paper on the issue, which is great. Now, I know that Kaya Kallas has to leave a bit earlier, so the next question, please, is turned to Kaya Kallas, who would like to ask this question. Nobody for the High Representative. Yes, we have one. Please go ahead.
Hello, my name is Dubai Bilhol. I'm the founder of Fikir Institute, a think tank in Dubai. And my question is, how do you see EU-GCC relations in the coming year? I know there was a lot of momentum towards the end of the previous administration. How do you see that relationship going forward, and in what areas of priority? Thank you.
Thank you. First, I think, European Union has a lot of possibilities in this turbulent times. I think in terms of multilateralism, we definitely are the reliable partner that everybody's looking at. So we see a lot of countries, but also organizations behind our doors, and we have different priorities for different regions, because some are more strategic to our interest than the others. Of course, the funding or the really the most important interest or worry we have currently is the war going on in Ukraine. We can't overlook at that. So all the relationship we have with other countries as well is in that prism as well, because that is the existential threat for Europe. But there is clearly very good cooperation points for different regions, be it energy cooperation, be it in different spheres. And I really feel that there's an opportunity for the European Union to really be present, visible, and put the European flag up in the relationship with other countries, because we are the reliable, predictable partner. And what comes to also the multilateral organizations, I think we can't, of course, fill the gap if the United States is leaving that gap behind, but we want to do what we can in areas that are also strategic interest for us. So we are definitely looking ways to act as a geopolitical player and increase our geopolitical power as well.
Thank you. Next question. I think somebody wanted. Yes, please go ahead.
Just to put some clarification on the comment I had from the panel. So first of all, Rwanda is committed to supporting the multilateralism. The UN as a unifying force is more crucial than ever during this period of fragmented division. The foundation of a stronger UN lies in the reinforcement of multilateralism, and we must work together to collectively address global issues that lie ahead. As we heard from the panel, the crisis in the Eastern DRC is a challenge for all of us in the region. Rwanda has been heavily affected with devastating human, political, and economic consequences of the crisis. However, Rwanda has nothing to gain from an unstable DRC. On the contrary, our vision for prosperity is tied to regional stability and economic cooperation. If I give you an example, in 2021, Rwanda exported close to 700 million USD worth of goods to the Democratic Republic of Congo. In 2022, Rwanda also, our exchange with Congo was over 33% of our total exports. Why Rwanda would be a country with an ambitious agenda for socio-economic development and at the same time want to jeopardize this cooperation. So Rwanda's best interests and economic ambitions are better served by peace, not conflict. It is time to move beyond simplistic narratives and focus on facts and solutions.
Please. Yes.
Thank you. What I was trying to say is that we are not accepting the finger-pointing strategy because we want to know that Rwanda has the concern and Rwanda has never attacked the Congo and will never do so. What we have done is to ensure that nothing can cross from Congo and jeopardize our security. I thank you very much.
Well, thank you for your remark. We are not able here to resolve the issue, and we don't want to have a debate on this. What I propose is that maybe you'll try on the margins to talk to each other. I mean, this conference is about peace through dialogue. So instead of making declaration, maybe you could sit down and talk, and maybe the UN can help doing this. I don't know what is happening right, but this is not the right way forward. Kaya Kallas, I think you have to leave. Thank you very much, and thanks for still staying here. Thank you. Another question, yes, please. The two ladies, and you agree between yourself who is asking the first one.
Thank you very much. My name is Edith Kimani. I'm from Kenya, and I'm also a journalist. My question is to President Tshisekedi, because you said that it's important to work closely with regional organizations, but they have to be credible. And at the same time, you've also, on many occasions, called onto the international community to say something about what's happening in your country. So the question is, do you not try
embarrassed to speak to a loved one, too embarrassed to speak to a doctor, too embarrassed
when in our
to speak to a
lifetime,
loved
1 in
one,
4 black men will be
too
diagnosed
embarrassed
with prostate cancer.
to speak to your doctor.
1 in 12
Too embarrassed.
black men.
Strategic city. I wanted to first of all find out what your reaction is to this latest news from the DRC. And the second question that I wanted to find out from you is, it seems like African regional bodies are failing, and even you are here abroad also trying to seek solutions to the situation in the DRC. Is it possible for you to have one-on-one discussions with the president of Rwanda to put an end to the conflict in the DRC, and what is stopping you from doing that? That's my first question. And the other question is to...
One question only.
Okay, yes.
Sorry.
Je vais commencer par la dernière question sur les discussions avec le président du Rwanda.
I'll start with the last question about talking with the president of Rwanda. Yes, we've done that. On 15th of the negotiations were supposed to take place, but he did not come. He attacked us and he violated the integrity of our borders. And for this reason, the question should be posed to him. And given the most recent events, of course, that is an affront, and we now have to address that. We are resolved to regain the integrity of our territory, and we will achieve that. It's now up to the international community to take on responsibility.
The
international community is armed, and it has supported Rwanda in the past. Rwanda is exploiting Congo's resources, so it's up to the international community to do everything to prevent this conflict spreading in the region, because we will not accept this kind of behavior. But there are other countries too that feel threatened. Burundi, for example, they've closed their borders to Rwanda, and there are also other countries that are thinking of what kind of position to take. And of course, it could lead to a spillover in the region. We will assume our responsibility, that's clear, but it's now also up to the international community to do the same.
In this panel, we concentrated a bit too much on the the DRC. On the other hand, this is a conflict that is happening right now where people lose their lives, and so it's also good for this conference not only to look at Ukraine but also look at what is happening in the DRC. When I was in the UN, our African colleagues in the Security Council always said, well, African solutions to African problems. But I understand from what you said that we are not there yet. But I can only tell you from the experience of the European Union, it is really very important that you have these international organizations, the African Union or the regional organizations that look after these problems and do it through discussions, debate, negotiations. And of course, as you said, they have to be empowered to do that. So I hope also that we make some progress there. And thank you to Volker Türk for being here. He is the one who is defending human rights. Not an easy job for him to do. But I think the most important is, and you said that before, on the UN, on the rules-based order, we have to go by the law, we have to go have state principles, no matter who is the culprit, we have to make the point, otherwise we lose the credibility. But I still believe, as I said in my speech, we don't have an alternative to the Charter of the UN, to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and thank you for confirming this, and let's work together to make it better. So thank you very much, and again, thank you for the two African presidents that you are spending your time here, but it's very valuable that you bring the issues here to Munich. Thank you.
Aliko Dangote, thank you so much for speaking to Bloomberg. You have the refinery.